Hi, everyone. Ed Bixby here from the Global Green Burial Alliance, and this is Spotlight Now.
Hi, everyone. This is Gretchen, and welcome to our Spotlight edition. And we are here today with Andrew Ousley. In 2015, Andrew created a concert series called Death of Classical. He has held concerts in venues such as the Crypt Chapel underneath the Church of the Intercession in Harlem, the Greenwood Cemetery in the Catacombs in New York, and other cemeteries. He's also an entrepreneur, writer, photographer, and public relations innovator about his mission to give new life to classical music. And we love that he's doing that in cemeteries. So welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Glad to be speaking with you.
Yeah, and everyone, he's actually at Greenwood Cemetery right now because he has a concert tonight in the catacombs.
Yeah,
So
perfect evening for a concert in the cemetery.
Yeah. So one of our committee members sent an article from Strings Magazine because he's a cello player. He's Steve Burkhoff. And I read it. I love classical and opera and choirs. So I was just all over. I got to try to get an interview with him because Ed and I are passionate about cemeteries, which is why we have this network. And I just think it's incredible that you are bringing new life into cemeteries in this way, and in a way that is so reverent and honoring of the space, and utilizes the space in many circumstances in a way that they were almost designed to be used for. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll stop talking and let you tell us about how you got into all this and all about it.
Yeah, well, I started in classical music. I spent most of my career working in classical music. I never played music, classical music. I always played sort of in rock bands, but I fell in love with the music itself. But one of the things that I always wanted to try to do was create a different experience around the music without compromising or cheapening the music itself. Create a more welcoming, a more compelling experience around the art form, especially for people like my age who might not have the same interest in a traditional concert experience like at Carnegie Hall or Lincoln Center. And instead, I wanted to put the music in unusual spaces. I wanted to add a food and a drink element, create shorter concerts with no intermissions, very focused, emotionally driven programming. And so that's something I'd been thinking about for a while. And I was looking at different spaces to do it. And a friend of mine who was a location scout said, "Oh, there's a crypt uptown you should look at. It seems cool." And I basically knocked on the door many times until they let me in and showed me the crypt. And it was just immediately this incredible reverberance with me in terms of the space itself, the energy of it, and the acoustic, which is amazing. And so that was sort of how Death of Classical was born. It was not my intention initially, and to do things in crypts and cemeteries, but it was just so wonderful the first couple of concerts we did, and we just had such a good time doing it. It was so unique for the artists and the audience members that we just kept doing it. And eventually somebody from Greenwood Cemetery reached out and said, "Hey, we have a catacomb we're not using." So we then expanded here. And this was one of the most amazing spaces in New York, and just programming anywhere here is incredible. But it's a really, I find it very moving to walk at twilight through a cemetery and be surrounded by this beautiful, peaceful environment, but also these memories, these reminders of your own mortality and the shortness and the preciousness of life, and then to hear in the inside of the catacombs a really focused, emotional piece of music, performance of music in a very intimate setting. I find it creates a very powerful connection to the art form, which is our goal.
I imagine it brings people to tears.
Very, very, very frequently, yes.
Yeah, and I heard another interviewer ask you, something about, is it sad? And when I heard that question, I thought, well, sometimes emotions come up and it's not even sadness, it's just energy and motion, right? It's just the music speaks to your soul. Yeah. So that's such a beautiful thing. And
Yeah, and I think there's a deep hunger for that now,
yes,
at this moment, because especially, we live so much of our lives online, and that connection can be so tenuous, especially with social media. It can be so surface and so superficial. And so when you really have a deep shared experience of being moved, and you feel the people around you being moved, and the artists responding to that and being moved as well themselves, it creates this like irreplaceable sense of connection, and I think clarity in what matters most in life. And that was something that was missing, obviously, during the pandemic, when we were isolated as well.
You know what I find so interesting, Andrew, is that, what we do, is help families with natural burial through natural spaces, bringing them back to death and dying, and connecting them, with the space and with the people that are there. And you don't even realize it, but what made it so interesting for us to want to speak to you is that you've actually captured the same type of feeling, that's within all of us in the society we live in today, who, death is taboo. This is bringing us closer to death, but accepting death and seeing the beauty in death, and preserving that history. And so I commend you for the work that you've done. It's absolutely amazing.
it
Thank
is.
you.
And
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. And I just wanted to say that I think that's something that I feel is really an important part of our mission too now, is that that just being very upfront. Death is something that happens to everybody, and everybody goes through and experience loss, and that the processing of that and the conversation around that is very important. Not all of our programming is around death, but I mean, one of the reasons why I'm in classical music, one of the primary reasons really is from my mother, who was an opera singer, who introduced me to the art form and really made me love it. And so she passed away 16 years ago, but music really helped me in my own process of grief. And so this is another reason why so much of the programming is tied to my memories of her, or my processing of her passing. And so it's something that I speak very openly about in the pre-concert introductions and so on. And I think it's important that people realize that if you don't talk about grief, it can be very difficult to process it and to be open about that. And I've had a lot of people come to me after shows and say, that was the first time I was able to properly grieve somebody I had lost. And it's really, it's important to me that be a part of what we do.
Yeah, talk about it and feel it. And music,
Exactly.
sometimes if you're not feeling it, the music will bring it up for sure.
Exactly.
Now I forgot what I was going to ask you, but I wanted to mention, some people don't know this, but those crypts and catacombs, I visited Eberbach Abbey in Germany, which is where Name of the Rose was filmed.
Mm.
And there's this room in there, and I just used my little voice. I just went, ooh, like that. And I mean, the whole room filled.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, it was really amazing. So I just, as soon as I can, I'm coming to see one of your concerts, for sure.
No, the acoustic is incredible. We just had an 8-person vocal choir in the catacombs, and it's just this overwhelming sound. We've had a full string orchestra in there. I mean, It's just, it is so visceral to hear that sound produced in that acoustic.
Yes. And I also wanted to mention back a little bit to what you were saying about death too, is our, because it came up in your other interviews, is that our country just came out of COVID. We have, a lot of people are dying of fentanyl, young people. And so us being a bit of a death denying culture, I think our culture sometimes is a bit at a loss. And so, the green burial and all of that, and the love of cemeteries, it's just, I think what you're doing and what we're doing just combines, helping people handle that. And it's so timely that you did this in 2015, for sure.
Yeah, we did one of our first shows out of COVID. We did this huge outdoor performance of the Gabriel Fauré's Requiem, which is one of the most beautiful, consoling depictions of death and the process of mourning death and commemorating death. and we did with the choir and orchestra, and we had it set up on this very high hill at Greenwood Cemetery, where you have the backdrop is the entire Manhattan skyline, and we had 400 people. Everybody had a small like candle, and so you just had this sea of candles on the grass on the hills, sitting by the graves, and this stage with New York City as the backdrop, and it was just sort of commemorate. It was in memory of everybody we'd lost to COVID, and it was just so moving, so moving.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
It's also a classic example, of the dual purpose of a cemetery itself and its practical uses. I mean, they're designed for the living. It's the final statement in one's life and how they chose to live it for those who are interred there. But it should be filled with life, and we got away from that. And Greenwood is spectacular. It's a garden cemetery. It's like no other, and we have cemeteries like that across this country that could benefit from programming and projects like this, not only for the communities, but even when it comes to fundraising capacities. I'm sure that you guys would do a wonderful job, or others. You could inspire others to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's people are there to be remembered in a way, and so we try to always tell some of the stories of the people buried here too when we can for some of our programming, our more interactive programming, and it's people are there to be remembered and to be surrounded by life, I think, even in death.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you this question now because somebody else asked you it. What is your wish list of cemeteries to play in? Because we have cemetery connections here, Ed and I.
Ooh. I'm so here in New York, the Calvary is one that I want to do something in. It's a beautiful cemetery between on the border of Brooklyn and Queens. Also has these amazing views of the Manhattan skyline. The one in Savannah, the beautiful one, in Georgia, I forget the name of it, but it's the one that's like in midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. It's like this incredibly scenic cemetery. Hollywood Forever Cemetery in LA, we are planning to do something there, hopefully in the fall of next year.
That's great, because I have a connection with Tyler, so I was like, maybe
Tyler
I can send this video to him.
They're fantastic. We're very excited for that. I'm always open, to be honest. We're planning a lot of expansions. We're expanding to the crypts under the Washington National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. There's a columbarium in San Francisco we've been having conversations with. But I'm always open. I mean, any cemeteries that have spaces where we can do things like a catacomb or a crypt or a big mausoleum or chapels. I'm always open to expansion. So certainly, as you guys, within your network, if you have places that would be interested and open, we are definitely always up to learning about new places and trying to figure out how we can do more.
International level too.
Oh, absolutely. The Europe that's the goal for 26. I think we need to do some fundraising for that, but 100%. I mean, the Parisian catacombs are high on my list. The Roman catacombs. There's several crypts in London that I'd like to program in. So yeah, we want to continue to expand our subterranean empire.
Yes,
absolutely.
Well, I think it'll just be so good for everybody. It's such a great thing, and I'm just so excited about it.
Well, it's very inspiring, Andrew. I mean, so for our viewers, how would they find out more about you and the programming and the projects that you're involved with? Yeah,
just go to deathofclassical.com, and all of our concerts and all the information about us is there. And hope to see everyone at the show soon.
Absolutely. Well, we do appreciate it here at the Global Green Burial Alliance, Andrew, and keep up the good work. Say hello to the folks there at Greenwoods for us, because they're doing some great work for New York City.
Yeah.
Will do. Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. And I hope everybody who's listening, cemeterians and musicians, be inspired by this. Check out his website and his passion. And we'll be watching for you, Andrew, out there for sure. And I hope to come see your concert very soon.
Hope to see you soon too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.